This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Of rookies officially having reported to training camp, and that batch also happening to be from the reigning Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. We thought it would be fun to kick off some of our NFL predictions for the offseason, playing a game of Super Bowl contender or pretender. I have a curated list of teams I think that could present some intrigue. So if your team is not on this list, don't be offended. For example, Los Angeles Rams are not on this list. I think we all understand they're a contender. I don't need to go from there. But we're picking up some teams that I did specifically 25-1 or shorter odds-wise. I didn't just go one by one. Are you ready?
Now I am, yes.
Okay, let's start with the Seattle Seahawks because I think despite them being the defending champs, we've been talking a lot more about their counterpart in the NFC West than we have for them. They didn't add a whole lot, didn't have much change, but did lose their offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak to the Raiders. They lose their Super Bowl MVP running back in Kenneth Walker, albeit they do go on and add Jadarian Price to fill that spot. Got Zach Charbonnet as well. Contender or pretender, say you, Seattle.
Let's go with contender. Do you want me to add to that?
I would like elaboration.
Okay. You said
I want this to be quicker pace, but that doesn't mean a one-word answer.
I'm following your rules. We should also know, Boye Mafe's not there anymore either, so that's a loss too, right, for the Seattle Seahawks defense. So I think to your point, they're contenders in the sense that the core is still there, but changes enough that you would question whether or not they're going to be as dominant as they were a season ago. But should expect that they're going to be near the top of the division, if not be able to win it. Should also expect that they're going to be a strong contender for one of the better wild cards if they don't win the division. And I think we're done. I say that with some pause. I think we're done questioning whether the Sam Darnold resurgence is real or not. But you do wonder with the loss of Clint Kubiak in a very quarterback-friendly system if there is some sort of reversion to the pack. Because remember, down the stretch, over the last 6 games or so, he was 1-1 on the touchdown-interception ratio. He even said it during the offseason. Didn't even play that well during the Super Bowl. So I think there's a shot that we see them, just because you won so many games, fall back down to earth from a record standpoint. They don't win the division, but they should still be amongst the threats in the NFC. So I will say contender, but I'll add the caveat that I wouldn't want that price.
People do seem to be pretty high on his replacement OC, Brian Fleury. I don't know a ton about him, although I probably should since he comes over from San Francisco. But I think, as you said, knowing what we know about Sam Darnold now, the sample size is much larger. He has proven enough to this point, and the defense statistically being what it was last year and having the bulk of those guys back should be in place to be a contender yet again. How about their counterpart in last year's Super Bowl, the New England Patriots, who I think fair to say we're pretty ahead of schedule last year. Drake May ends up being an MVP candidate. You gave him a new toy as well in the wide receiver room. But they also had one of the historically easiest schedules that we have seen in the modern era of the NFL. Now you have a first place, one of the more difficult schedules in the entire league. How do you see them, contender or pretender?
I'll say, I don't like this game, too, by the way, because I'm the one that has to go out on the limb with all of the opinions.
Well, I'm the one that came up with the idea, so I get to run it how I see fit.
I guess you're just scared of being out there
They're
with the
a pretender.
opinions.
We've already talked about them. I don't know why you're being coy. Pretender.
So easy to bait in what I need you to do. Yeah, pretender. There we go. Everything that you've talked about when you're looking at their schedule, the opponents that they played, they have every single bit of sign that they're going to regress here. You even go back to, you want a short sample size if you're talking about being somewhat unfair. But remember, last year, the postseason, Drake May, he faced 4 teams, all finishing 7th or higher in defensive expected points added per play. And the results were 58% completion, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 7 fumbles, I believe it was, and the average is 14 points per game. It goes to show that once you step up in competition, there is at least going to be a little bit more resistance to your success, and I think you're going to see that again here for New England. So we'll call them what?
Pretenders.
There we go.
And I still have plenty of concerns with this offensive line, too. Drake May pressured on almost 40% of his dropbacks last year, 46 sacks. Will Campbell, I think we should probably give him some grace from an injury standpoint. And I know there's all this excitement about Elijah Vera Tucker, but it's sure, if he's healthy, he's one of the best offensive linemen in football. But when is he healthy? That's the other part of this too. So I think there's more reasons for concern than excitement with New England right now. And then, by the way, your head coach was marred in controversy this offseason. So how focused has everybody
moved
been?
On from that.
How focused has everybody been the last couple months?
God forgives.
How about the Baltimore Ravens? New head coach after missing the playoffs last year. Gone is John Harbaugh. In steps Jesse Minter. You still have a 2-time MVP. Quarterback Derrick Henry, older but still a bulldozer. You do make a big signing on the defensive side with Trey Hendrickson. Always high expectations with this team. haven't necessarily delivered in the postseason when you need it. Contender or pretender, could this be the year?
Yeah, I think they're a contender as long as they have Lamar Jackson. I think that's a given here. I think when you add in the context of the price at 10-1, as somebody who was burned by this group last year, I was one of the many who were singing the praises of the Ravens and thinking that they were the highest power-rated team in the National Football League, and they did not meet those lofty goals. So I would say contender in the sense of, yes, they will be one of the teams with the better records and competing for one of the top seeds in the AFC, and then by extension, the Super Bowl. But I would say that I think I want a little bit more on the price, and I am somewhat surprised about, I'll call it, for lack of a better term, the market's blind faith in this team to put them in the range of like 10-1.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be really good, but after being burned last year, you can't reach out for the stove again. So I'll just say contender for sure, but not at that price do I want to invest.
Meanwhile, I personally, and I know you as well, are much more interested in their division counterpart who is at a better price at 20-1. Your Cincinnati Bengals, ladies and gentlemen. Though, as I know we have discussed a lot this offseason, the Bengals are going to go as Joe Burrow goes. And so his health is going to play a key factor in this thing, but I think they are squarely a contender. Care to elaborate?
Do I have to?
Yes.
No, I'm just saying, you're doing a really good job.
That is your role.
You're doing a really good job. Joe Burrow's fantastic. They have the best wide receiver core in the National Football League. When he's healthy, this is the best offense in the NFL. And then you love what they've done on defense. They had a massive weakness, and they went and addressed it, including, of course, the cherry on top, which is Dexter Lawrence along that defensive line. Benjanucci as well. Like, this group is going to be much improved. And the best part is, much like me showing up to work every day, I don't really have to do that much because you're so good.
Oh,
so you're Joe Burrow in the offense. I'm the Bengals defense. I just have to be adequate, and we can do enough to get by. And I think that that's the same thing here with Cincinnati. We don't need you to be a top 10 defense. Get to 15, and we'll do it the rest of the way.
I'm going to choose to overstep everything that you said there from my standpoint. The revamped defense, though, is key here because, as long as you're not the literal worst in the league anymore, you're going to the floor is automatically raised now on the Cincinnati team. So, and you're going to have the best offensive line you've had in your career in the NFL if you're Joe Burrow.
And I would add, like all of these, we should, of course, factor this into the conversation. At the price, I think that's actually worth taking. 20-1 for the Bengals, a team that I think could not only win the division, be in contention for most wins in the National Football League. Burrow at MVP at 10-1, very pro Cincinnati Bengal. As you go to VSiN.com, sign up for the VSiN Pro subscription, you get the NFL guide. Yeah. So were many in the NFL guide. I was surprised. I didn't think I was going to be out on an island, but I definitely didn't think there would be that many who had them to win the division and succeed the way that I did, and there were quite a few who do.
Bengals over their win total was one of my write-ups, actually, in the guide as well. How about the Kansas City Chiefs? 16-1 for them. Have at least appeared in the Super Bowl 5 times since 2020. 3 wins. Held out of the playoffs, meanwhile, last year altogether. 6 straight losses to end the regular season, and they lose, most importantly, their franchise quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. He is expected to be back after tearing his ACL and MCL by week 1. At least that's how everything is trending with how aggressively he's approached his rehab to this point. Lots of youth on this defense. Tough division with the Broncos and Chargers. Contender or pretender in 2026-27?
Do we buy it? I mean, in the sense of, do we dare say that Patrick Mahomes is on the decline potentially here as we move forward? I mean, by his own lofty standards, we saw the last couple of years, completion percentage has been floating around like the same 67%, but last year it dipped to 62.7, 22 touchdowns to 11 interceptions before he got injured in those 14 games that he played. We saw a little bit of a dip in production. We expected that they were going to fall back down to earth because they just kept winning those one-score games the year before, but is there a reality that we're entering? Even though I was about to invoke Scotty Scheffler, but he is 4 under through 17. But still, we were talking about Scotty Scheffler maybe slowly walking down the mountain. Is there a reality where we've reached a plateau with Patrick Mahomes and that this team is going to be good because he is good, but maybe they shouldn't be priced where they're at? And there's a reality where a team like the Chargers in their division, for example, with a revamped offensive staff could actually supplant them. And so I will say contender, but again, I don't know if I want to invest in the price that they are currently being offered at.
Okay, I know I'm changing up the exercise for a moment, but from that division standpoint, because I think that is one that you could argue has 3 potential contenders.
2.5.
Who would you rather have if you had to take one of those guys, one of those teams, regardless of price, to have a ticket in pocket? Who would you want it on? Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs?
I think I'd rather have the Chargers. I think everybody every year is kind of buying in on LA, but this seems to be the year where I'll finally kind of bite a bit here for the Chargers, mainly because I do like Mike McDaniel as an offensive coordinator. You know, you're not asking him to be the head coach. Now he could sit there and puff on the vape and actually just call offensive plays. He doesn't really have too much on his shoulders. I think the change in the offense is going to do wonders for Justin Herbert and this team overall. I think the schedule at the beginning is relatively manageable. We'll see if they can handle certain spots, but I think the Chargers are a team that is worth looking at for sure.
Packers 18-1, didn't do a ton to bolster their roster this offseason. They made the big move, of course, last year, bringing in Micah Parsons, although he had a season-ending ACL and a cleanup on his meniscus. That's a big concern for me for a team I already wasn't particularly high on. So pretender for me, contender or pretender for JVT?
I think they're kind of right there. I mean, they have to, again, so it's hard with the binary contender or pretender. I'll say contender because, again, they're going to win a lot of games and they're going to be up there. You do wonder about Parsons and the health. When he was off the field, statistically, they really took a big downturn. They've kind of been all over the place the last couple of seasons defensively as well. If you look at the years prior when they were finished around like 22nd in defensive efficiency, but then before that, they were a top 5 unit and how that really looks for them. So, and that's kind of been the fickle nature of this offense as a whole at times. You know, the upside's really high, but then the downside is a team that's really stuck in the mud and kind of disjointed. Health at wide receiver has been a problem. They lose Dubs, so that's going to be a question too, who's now in New England. I think they're going to contender just for the sake of being a team that's going to push for double-digit wins, maybe even get those, and then maybe win their division. But I wouldn't be running to the window to hitch my wagon to Green Bay.
Well, and even some of the things they did, I know you're excited to an extent that you were able to get your young receivers paid and everything like that is set for the future. But Christian Watson specifically, like all the injuries he has had that date back to his college days. I'm not sure
long leg.
How great I feel about that. Because you did mention the NFL betting guide, though, it is worth noting this year's guide you can't buy on its own. You can't get it a la carte. You do need to be a VSiN Pro subscriber to have access to all of those futures bets, all of the write-ups and everything that has been put together from Adam Burke and the whole crew here at VSiN. VSiN.com/subscribe. If you go there right now, you can get our football season special for just $175. That gets you unlimited access to everything we do at VSiN each and every day.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're rolling along on this Friday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, SiriusXM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app. Wherever you're watching or listening, we appreciate it. Maybe you're listening to this in the future in podcast form, which, remember, you can always find Money Moves wherever you get your podcasts as well. Had a great conversation earlier in the show with Will Hill, giving out some NFL futures and MLB plays for the day. Same thing with our guy Mike Palm, VP of Operations here at Circa. Some thoughts on the World Cup as the final is set coming up on Sunday. Should be fun. Sunday fun day out here at Circa, specifically Stadium Swim is going to be popping. The world's largest sports book going to be awesome. Really excited for the weekend for sure. Last segment, we were talking through some different NFL Super Bowl contenders or pretenders. We didn't get through the full list, but I was just curious if there was a team I didn't bring up that you wished I had.
Let me see. Let me double check the list to see if they were on there because I think they were near the bottom. Yeah. I feel like this is a dangerous opinion. No, it's not. I'm still kind of not buying Houston.
Okay, that's fair.
The offense, again, they're kind of just running it back. And I just don't understand. I understand the belief in the sense of how good this defense is. But in 2026, you have to have an offense. Your defense, as we learned, can only take you so far. And if the signs of regression that we have seen from C.J. Stroud are legitimate, which the sample size is growing that says yes, or at the very least he's not getting any better than his rookie year, for sure, right? I just don't know why I'm going to buy that this team is going to be any different than the group that last year, again, albeit was very good, but did it despite their offense.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting, too, because to go back to his rookie season, the defense is what carried you full force last year. When offensively, when you have this young talent, you think you should have the perfect complement on both sides of the ball. You did pay Nico Collins, so at least you got a happy wide receiver. You bring in David Montgomery. The offensive line should be reworked and better, and that's kind of the key, right? If you want to try to get the most out of C.J. Stroud, you have to be able to protect him, and that was a massive flaw of this team. But at 18-1, I don't have interest. I would rather get a little bit more value on, say, Jacksonville if I was looking at a team from that division than to go with Houston. So I'm with you.
Remember last year they did start 0-3, and it's not the easiest schedule in the world to start. You're talking about Bills, Bengals, Colts, and then the Cowboys. Those are 3 of those 4 games. I don't think it'd be shocking if they lost that. I don't know about you. I'm high on the Cowboys and what their floor is, especially on offense. Ceiling could be even higher, obviously. And we know what the Bills and the Bengals are going to be. You get 3 of those 4 at home, so it's going to help. But we've talked at length. Home field only worth about point and a half. It's not that strong to get these teams at home anymore. So just maybe even wait to see what's going to happen. You should at least get a victory against Indianapolis, but we'll see if that actually is the case because football is weird.
Okay, let's get into some college football, though, as our Money Moves college football top 25 reveal continues today. We have been doing it the last 3 days, and we'll continue until we get from 25 all the way to 1. Today we are looking at number 21 and number 20 on our top 25 list. The Louisville Cardinals coming in at number 21, 8-4 last year. 9-4 if you include the Boca Raton Bowl win. In terms of the ACC odds, they are 3rd on the board at 8-1, a plus 550 shot to make the college football playoff. 8.5 win total. You are getting plus money on the over, plus 134. Minus 180, however, on the over 5.5 conference wins. I'm a Jeff Braun fan. I'm a Louisville fan. I think this team is going to be really good in the ACC yet again. How do you see them?
As it is with many of these teams in today's day and age, how's your quarterback going to play? Lincoln Kienholz comes in, and from Ohio State, right? That was the transfer spot, and this is a offense that I think is really going to need him to perform at a very high level. Even last year with Miller Moss, who played relatively well, you're still talking about a team that finished in the 2nd percentile in pass explosive rate. If you looked at the offensive breakdown in terms of expected points added, middle of the pack in the country, and about 83rd in terms of EPA per play. A lot of it came from their passing attack. The running game was really good. If you look at the rushing numbers and just whittle it down to that, Stormy, they were top 35-ish offense on the ground, but they were in the hundreds when it came to the efficiency of their passing game. Is this going to be better for Louisville? Are you going to give your offense some more balance, some more explosiveness, especially through the air? Because that's going to be a problem. You can't have an explosive rate in today's version of college football. You can't be 10th in explosive play rate and 2nd percentile in pass explosive play rate. You've got to be able to generate those. This was not an efficient group through the air, and that to me is the biggest question if they're going to achieve some of the goals that people like you and others think they can.
Yeah. I don't have an issue with Lincoln Kienholz, and I think
Is it Kienholz? I apologize.
Keen, yeah, no, you're fine. But with Jeff Brom being a quarterback guy, I think you can get more out of him, at least on the surface. I hope so, especially with the solid wide receiver core that you have there. Isaac Brown is back at running back. He dealt with some injury issues. He had a lot of opportunities in the portal to go make more money elsewhere. He decides to stay, so you'll have a little bit more of that balance, I think. Defense should be good. This is a team, I think, that's always good, that's always, 3 straight 9-win seasons now. But my issue with them is they win games that on the surface you don't think they're going to, right? When they get into the big game, Miami is a great example last year, right? You have Miami on a Friday night and you win that freaking game. But then what do they do a week later? I'm on the sideline against Cal and they lose at home. They're just, a couple weeks later rather. You have the amazing win, and then you have the can't have it loss repeatedly. 2024 Stanford, same thing.
I think that Miami game, you're burying the lead a little bit because they had lost, remember, that overtime game the week before to Virginia.
Yeah.
So it's just, to your point, it's been helter-skelter in terms of the results. And some of that is, I think, going back to the offense and the need for improvement. They converted just 35% of their third downs last year. They were barely around the 25th percentile in terms of late down success rate. They just weren't good, and the quarterback play wasn't great. And that brings me back to our boy Kienholz, which is just the previous transfer quarterbacks that Brom has had here for Louisville, they at least had some reps under their belt. And still, even last year, it just wasn't particularly great. Now you've got somebody who really doesn't have anything under the belt that you're asking to make us better from a year ago because we need that. I'm with you, though. The defense should be very good. But you look at the games that they lost, the offense scuffled at times when they didn't need it. The loss against Clemson, you only managed 19 points. Loss at SMU, you only managed 6. You need this offense to be better if you're going to be more than just, hey, another plucky 9-win team.
Yeah. We are going to have an unbelievable litmus test right out the gates for them week 1, September 6th against Ole Miss on ABC. So you're going to learn a lot about the Louisville Cardinals very quickly in that week 1 game. They'll get a little bit of a reset opportunity against Villanova, and then you got another dog in SMU. So it's going to be tough out the gates, and we'll see who you are early.
And I will say, too, I do think there is some opportunity here on the schedule, though. I mean, the road trips in conference play, you'd have to go to NC State. I think Syracuse is kind of a tricky spot, too, because I think they're just like a well-coached program that can offer a challenge. But you have to go to Georgia Tech, which will be one, too, at North Carolina. But some of the home games, I think you'd rather get some of those harder opponents at home. But you get to play host to SMU. You get to play host to Wake Forest. You get Stanford, which is winnable. You get to play Pitt at home. So you do wonder how they're going to handle those. I think the market's getting this right, though, and looking at 8.5 and shady get under, considering the questions you have at quarterback, some of the teams that you do have to face, including Ole Miss to start, like you mentioned. I do think that this is probably a season in which you're probably more than likely getting 8 wins.
I'm glad we talked a little bit longer on Louisville because the team that comes in at number 20 on our top 25, we have already discussed a lot. Big 12 Media Days were last week, so the Arizona Wildcats have already had a lot of our attention, but that is number 20 in our rankings. They're 6th on the board in the Big 12 at 19-1, 10-1 shot to make the college football playoff. Win total, though, only 7.5. Why? Because their schedule is very challenging. That said, I do like Arizona. They didn't lose anyone of significance. In fact, they keep Noah Fafita for another year. Huge for Brent Brennan in the program after they took another step back forward last year. Got some great weapons around him, too. Offensive line does have some questions, but that's something Brennan addressed during media day as well. Said he has liked what he's seen from them, at least in the early going. And for me, an offense that doesn't turn it over much and a defense that does force a lot of turnovers, second most to Texas Tech last year in the Big 12 and should do that again this year, is a pretty positive recipe for me when I look at a team.
I think is this fair? If you like Arizona over their win total, you should have a small ticket on Noah Fafita to win the Heisman.
100-1, baby.
I mean, I think you should dig for a little bit more than that. But the whole point here being is, like you said, the schedule is absolutely insane. Road trips to BYU, West Virginia, Texas Tech, Kansas State, playing host to Utah and Arizona State. This is a really daunting schedule. So if they're going to achieve 8 or more wins, that would mean some pretty good performances, one would assume, for Noah Fafita, who's one of the better returning quarterbacks in college football. And that would make me think that, all right, if you do like over 7.5, you're putting a small bit of change on Noah Fafita to win a Heisman, because they are not achieving that unless he's really good in some of these really big spots away from home against some of the best that this conference has to offer.
I think people, because of all of the attention that Texas Tech and BYU got last year, and rightfully so, out of the Big 12, didn't realize how good and in the thick of it Arizona truly was. 2 of their 3 regular season losses last year, and 3 of the 4 overall, if you want to throw in the bowl game, were decided by 1 score. They lose to BYU in double overtime. They lost to Houston on the last play of the game. Those are both in back-to-back weeks as well. If they can win some of those close games and are able to build on the success that they had last year with a slightly easier schedule, I think this is an Arizona team that could be really good, and your point about Fafita is well taken, because they're going to have opportunities to have good broadcast windows against some of these teams in the Big 12 to show what he's made of. So I'm pretty high on this Arizona team. I like them, but all of the reasons we laid out is also why their conference odds are as long as they are.
Yeah, I think, and I personally think that it manifests more in like an ATS standpoint, just maybe a strong ATS year, staying inside of some of these numbers against some of the bigger opponents. I do have a hard time looking at 7.5 in the schedule and saying, all right, even at a plus price, plus 105, plus 110, that I can find 8 wins on this schedule. I think they'll be very competitive, but it is a daunting schedule.
All right, we're going to step aside here on Money Moves. When we come back to the NBA Summer League rolls on. We also heard Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Miami Heat try to make their play for LeBron James yesterday. Didn't move the market at all. The Golden State Warriors and Cavs appear to be in the driver's seat, but that's not what the reporting has said. Hopefully, VSiN's own Zach Cohen, host of Hardwood Handicappers, NBA analyst, senior editor here at the network, can help us make sense of it all when we return.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So much for Dog Days of Summer. The sports calendar has been busy and awesome. World Cup, NBA Summer League, Major League Baseball, the W, everything. And with that in mind, remember,
Dog Days of Summer.
The Sharp Plays is covering it all. It's not, though. We've even got NFL stuff that we're talking about already. Training camp's underway. But remember, with this in mind, Sharp Plays covering it all, winning for 15 years. They've documented everything. Logs posted publicly for you to look at as well at sharpplays.com. When the Sharp Plays move, sportsbooks take notice. Check out their advanced AI, trusted insider intel, and a place that finds value before numbers shift. Start winning with them today at sharpplays.com. VSiN.com.
Full disclosure, I forgot that you'd read that because I was going to say it's still the dog days of summer because my dog, Zach Cohen, is with us here on the Progressive Guest Line. What's up, big dog? How you doing?
Not much. How you guys doing?
See, there we go. Not that much energy. I just called you big dog and gave you a really good compliment. I would expect maybe a little bit more like, what's up, bro?
Would up the energy.
Yeah, but that's fine. All right, let's talk about, we have a lot to cover here, NBA Summer League and a little bit more, but Stormy and I talked about this. We'll set the table for our audience and for you. A lot of the reporting around LeBron has been three teams, not in this order: Philadelphia, Miami, and Cleveland. Thank you very much. And yet prediction markets are just all over this Golden State angle, and it continues to get driven up. What have you made of the reporting, and what's your expectation? Has it changed at all? What has been your opinion about where LeBron goes?
Yeah, I feel like I've been thinking Cleveland the entire time, and there hasn't been much reporting that suggests anything otherwise. I feel like the only thing we've heard from him that seems to change is like what the order is after Cleveland. I think that there's been some good reporting about maybe his connection to the 76ers. Now we're hearing some more buzz about the Warriors again. But I do feel like everyone thinks it's Cleveland. So you look at the prediction market stuff. I don't know. I don't take that as, there's a 30% chance to go to the Warriors. It's, the same way as it is with odds. It's what people are betting, moving those numbers. So I still think it's going to be the Cavaliers. I maintain that Cleveland is the best chance for him to win a title without people turning on him again. If he goes anywhere else, it's really back to him kind of chasing a winning situation.
Yeah, narratively, it does seem to be the thing that would make everyone the most happy in the whole situation. Meanwhile,
Minnesota would be good.
Shut up. You keep on trying to get this one out there.
If he brings LaMelo Ball,
conversation has all died.
If he brings LaMelo Ball to a championship, he surpasses Jordan.
It's the best basketball fit. I really think it is. Like, just slot in as the power forward, play with those younger guards. I really do think if he did go there, they become probably the best team in the Western Conference. I just don't see him living in Minnesota for a year.
The Miami Heat were trying to campaign, certainly, for LeBron yesterday, and we heard from Brian Windhorst a couple of times in the last 24, 48 hours that if LeBron wants to be a ball handler and be more of the player that he's been for the last 20 years, that would be a place that actually could work for him. But meanwhile, go back to the trade markets element of this, zero movement on that. They have been pretty standing pat at that 18-19%.
Yeah, I just kind of don't see it with Miami just because I feel like things ended on pretty bad terms between him and Pat Riley. And you also go back to like the way they treated Dwayne Wade, one of his best friends. I just don't really see him ending his career there. I do think it would be a really interesting basketball fit. The reality is no matter where LeBron goes, it becomes really interesting, which is why the NBA is kind of holding off on making a schedule, because wherever he goes, you need to throw them on national TV as much as possible. But I just don't really see him ending his career in Miami.
All right, let's talk some win totals. We had history made when it came to these win totals, and that history was very quickly snuffed out. The Brooklyn Nets win total opened up at 18.5 over at DraftKings. Maybe it was a little bit lower, Zach. You could correct me, but I think 18.5 was the number. Either way, we're up to 21.5, for Brooklyn now. So that thing moved pretty quickly. It seemed pretty low, but now with this adjustment, I know that you've been relatively high on the coaching staff, and the way that this team is getting built up, is 21.5 wins enough for the Brooklyn Nets now that these win totals are posted?
Yeah, I mean, I wish that I jumped on this a little bit earlier, but I did mention on Hardwood Handicappers yesterday that I probably would play an alternate of 30+ with this team, so 21.5 is still fine. I kind of think that this season we're not going to see anybody win 20 or fewer games. I think the relegation zone thing that they've done with the draft lottery is going to work a little bit, and I just kind of think that the league has gotten deeper. I mean, you look at Brooklyn last year, they were a really competitive first quarter team. I've gone through this a lot and mentioned how good of a coach I think Jordi Fernandez is. Last year's team now adds Julius Randle, who is a really good regular season player. Yegor Djomin was one of the kind of standouts to me in the summer league. I just feel like that team, talent-wise, looks way better than it was a year ago. And if there's not an incentive to pull players as often as you were last year, I feel like they're going to win a lot more games.
VSiN betting analyst, senior editor at VSiN.com, and as you just mentioned, host of Hardwood Handicappers as well. You can download wherever you get your podcast. I don't want you to fully give it away, but is there another win total that you can share with us that really caught your attention when it came out? I know you've got a pod full of stuff, but anything you can share here?
Yeah, I mean, the Cavaliers over 48.5 wins. Like, we were just talking about LeBron James potentially going there. That team won 52 games without LeBron last season. I don't really see what's changed to the point that they would win 48 or fewer, even with the roster that they currently have right now. say what you want about James Harden as a postseason performer. We know that that guy is going to be great during the regular season. Donovan Mitchell's still there. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen's still there. They've really looked like they got something special in their pick, Malik Thomas in the draft, who has been lighting up the summer league. And I just feel like that bench is really good. And the only real loss from last season is Dean Wade, who I do think is a good two-way player, but I just feel like Cleveland has enough talent to win 50-plus with who they have. And if you do bring LeBron James into the mix, it's a surefire 50-plus win team for me. So that one was a little bit lower. I know that a lot of teams in the East got a lot better, but I feel like for there to be a huge drop-off like that would be a little unrealistic with the Cavs.
All right, let's transition to Summer League. But before we get to some of the games and the team performances, one of the big winners, I think, of the NBA Summer League has been Bulls rookie Caleb Wilson. He's looked really, really good so far. I've got to watch him in person a couple of times now. He's floating around 5-1 to win NBA Rookie of the Year next year, Zach. And I do wonder, I think the initial conversation was just, hey, man, this is going to be a three-way race. It's going to be great. The way these guys are playing in the Summer League, this might go deeper, all the way down to the Nets' own Michael Brown Jr., who's 20-1. Have you seen anybody that would be worth investing in at a long shot price in the NBA Summer League for Rookie of the Year?
I mean, I don't know what the number is on Burries right now, and I do kind of worry about Tyler Hero blocking him, but I feel like in terms of just seeing what these guys look like on an NBA floor, I know it's not quite NBA talent that they're always playing against, but Burries looks really, really dangerous as a three-level scorer. I think a lot more comfortable handling the ball than people thought he was at Arizona. And just the way that he kind of ended last season, turning into the best player on that Arizona team that obviously went to the Final Four. I think this is going to be a player that's really good right away. And I feel like he's going to end up being a steal in this draft. So I could see it being really good early. I don't know that he's actually going to win Rookie of the Year, but that's probably the furthest down I would go. But yeah, Caleb Wilson was the standout of the summer as far as the rookies go. Like, I think the top three picks, they looked about as expected. They all looked great. But I do think that there was, a drop-off after number 3 in this draft, at least when you were kind of going into the draft. But the Bulls have to be feeling like it was a great year to pick number 4 because they pretty clearly have somebody that's on that level. Wilson just looks so much better with the ball in his hands than I thought he did at UNC. And the jumper looks pretty damn clean, even off the bounce. So I think he looks way kind of wingier than I thought he would be. And you kind of look at that team now, and I think against the spread, they might end up being kind of a darling this season because I was a little worried about the fit with that team. But now all of a sudden, Buzelis and Wilson look like a really good wing duo. You have Norman Powell to stretch the floor. Giddey's been a really good player ever since he's got there. And they, of course, made the trade to absorb the Nick Claxton contract in the Julius Randle deal. So they kind of have a two-way center there.
Real quick, sorry, Bradenbury 60-1 to win NBA Rookie of the Year.
We have 6 games today looking ahead to the NBA Summer League. Anything that caught your attention?
I'm done with the games that don't matter. So, I'm only going to be looking to tomorrow's semifinals. I've already had a terrible summer league. I feel like every single time I predicted a player would be sitting or playing, I got it wrong. So, really, really brutal Vegas stretch for me so far. But tomorrow in the semifinals, there are 2 really good games. And the way that I am attacking those, which I will write up at vsin.com and go a little bit more in depth on this, but I think Memphis to win the summer league at around plus 200 is the way that I would play the first game. I wouldn't bother laying the points. It's 5.5 against Houston. I don't really want to deal with the spread against the Rockets team. They've been playing really hard. Bruce Thornton's looked really, really good as an on-ball creator, and just feel like that team is not going to go away easily. But I do think Memphis wins, and I kind of think we saw in the Grizzlies game against the Hawks that when they go out there with the purpose, they are the best team in the summer league. They went out and won that game by 100 and eliminated the Hawks, who I had a future on in the summer league. So brutal result there, but I do think Memphis wins. And then in the second game, I like the Lakers to beat the Warriors, pretty much just because Los Angeles has not yet shut anybody down. It doesn't look like Golden State's going to play Will Richard, who's their best summer league player. I think that the Lakers have looked like a really good team on both ends of the floor, and they're taking it a little bit more seriously than the Warriors are.
Zach, I hope for your and JVT's sake, you are correct about Memphis because you both have the Hawks future and Memphis is your only hope now. So
Correct.
I hope you guys are right. I would like good things for my
Cam
friends.
Boozer.
Zach, thank you for the time. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Zach Cohen, everybody. Follow him on X, at Betting on X as well. And again, the Hardwood Handicappers podcast out now. Get some more insight on some of those win totals.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, Remember this next year when I probably bet on the Atlanta Hawks to win the NBA Summer League again. But I can't
It's going to happen. I can already see it. Like, look in the crystal ball. There he is again.
At least I got one. If the
There he is
Grizzlies didn't
again.
get in after doing that to me, probably wouldn't be here today.
We're wrapping it up here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports
In life.
Betting Network, coming up after one last timeout.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Lookout weekend. We are closing up this Friday edition of Money Moves live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino, alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Bonantoni with you. Going to wrap up the day as we always do with some bets for everybody at home. And I added a couple of futures today because yesterday I feel like if you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk sometimes, right? And I think, pretty adamant yesterday on my disdain for Florida State and the belief that they can accomplish much this football season. And I was like, you know what? We just need to add this to the account. And I think ultimately it'll be something that I write up for our college football betting guide that's going to be coming out in a couple weeks as well. But Florida State under that 6.5 win total. I know it's juiced to heaven minus 160. So I did a play on that and the alt under 5.5 at plus 155. I think 6 feels generous to me based on, like, even if you were the best roster on paper in the league, which you're clearly not, you face the most difficult schedule in the league. It is very, very hard to find 7 wins on that schedule. And for Mike Norvell, who, for as glowingly as he spoke this week about Ashton Daniels, to put his Florida State coaching future on the line with that quarterback, it's going to be an uphill battle all around. I am not a believer. This is a squad that went from 60 to 0 real fast, and I do not have any interest in backing them this year.
Okay, so we've got, what are the plays here? Under
6.5 wins and alt under 5.5 wins.
Okay, all right. So Mike Novell's getting fired.
Yeah, where's the prediction market on that? We got to look up some ACC will they, won't they. But I mean, just look at the 10 wins in 2022, 13 in 2023. You have the heartbreaking miss of the college football playoff when Jordan Travis gets injured and you're held out. And then things fell apart and have not been able to get back on the track since. Even last year, you opened the season with a win against Alabama. You have all these expectations of being back and being able to retool everything. And it fell so unbelievably flat. And I think a part of that reason is, and you could agree or disagree, was as a whole, and especially when you have a team that has as many transfers as Florida State has in the last 4 years coming in and out, that when you lose confidence at one point, you just start to not care anymore a little bit, and it spirals. When you don't have that ultimate goal of the CFP or whatever it is, things spiral. That very clearly happened last year, and based on how the front half of the schedule is for Florida State, I think that could very easily happen to them again this year.
Sure. Makes sense. All right, so Florida State and the alternate under and the win total as well, 6.5, 5.5.
And then I just threw in a play just now for the World Cup on Sunday. You and I pretty like-minded on this. I liked Will Hill's discussion about it and what Mike Palm was saying, too, in Spain. But instead of laying the minus 160, I'm doing plus 125 on the 90-minute line backing Spain. And you have a pretty interesting angle, too, to get a little more bang for your buck.
Yeah, let's have some fun with this. So we'll go Spain regulation win as well. So in the 90-minute line, parlayed with under 2.5 goals at plus 325. Going back to what we talked about the other day with Tommy Tuchel, the head coach of the English team. I don't think that if Spain takes a lead against Argentina, that you're going to sit back and allow them to do what they want. You're going to continue to maintain your aggressiveness. You're going to maintain possession as well, the way that you've been playing throughout this entire tournament. I think, again, going back to the thing we have spoken about over and over and over again with the Spanish side, feels like they're being somewhat undervalued almost every single step of the way and not really appreciating how dominant they have been up to this point. So I think the Spanish side is it. So instead of the boring old plus 125, let's parlay it together with under 2.5 goals, have them play their game. You also just do wonder, you just can't keep doing this, right, if you're Argentina? These constant comebacks, these constant late goals. I mean, the Egypt game where you come back down 2-0, you get the red card and still just barely take the lead late against Switzerland before they go to penalties. Obviously, we just saw what happened with England. One would assume you just can't keep this up, but crazier things have happened.
the stat, and we gave this out yesterday, but worth noting again, of can they keep doing this? Argentina has scored 11 goals in the knockout rounds. 9 of them have come in the 79th minute or later. 6 have come in stoppage or extra time, and their game winners in the round of 32, in the 111th minute, round of 16, 92nd minute. That's when they had the crazy comeback against Egypt, against Switzerland, 112th minute, and then we all saw how things came with them scoring 2 goals in 7 minutes late to beat England in the semis. So it is ridiculous what they've been able to do, and like, it just, everything keeps telling me you can't keep this up, especially against a team like Spain that is so dominant possession-wise, has had so much success defensively. So I think this could come together for us. My question, though, on the Spain side, will Lamine Yamal finally score a goal? Do we think this is going to happen? Plus 230 for him.
I mean, given the odd nature of his relationship with Lionel Messi and the path of destiny that has occurred,
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe.
Did he not? Was he not the one that he drew the penalty, but he did not score the penalty? Correct the other day. Okay.
Yes. Mikel Oyarzabal is not the biggest name for Spain.
Ever since you learned to say that name.
But he has been their best goal scorer, 5 in the tournament, plus 170 for him if you think he can do it again. Okay, going into the weekend, anything else on your radar?
Well, how you feeling? So we should note Bryson DeChambeau's day is done. He birdies the final 2 holes there. He is 4 under for the day, 7 under for the tournament, shoots a 66 to move into a solo spot for second, just ahead of 3 guys who are at 6 under currently, Cameron Young, Jackson Suber, and Ryan Gerard. So DeChambeau with a pretty good day.
Yeah.
The lone blemish on the day was a bogey on 4, so probably kicking himself for the way he played that hole, but really, really well so far for DeChambeau, who is now finding himself going into the weekend in second place out there at the Open Championship.
I mean, he's got the mindset right, and I know yesterday he drew some criticism for not doing media. He gave his quotes directly to the Open Championship media staff instead of going out and having his normal session. But I think given what we know about him in major tournaments this season and the 3 missed cuts he's had, yesterday was the first time that he shot under par in 7 rounds at major tournaments this season. So for him to have the last 2 days that he's had and put himself in contention like this, second on the leaderboard right now, good on Bryson DeChambeau.
Yes, and we should also note that, because we did not talk about this, the wrong Fitzpatrick near the top of the leaderboard. Alex Fitzpatrick, 3 under for today, 4 under for the tournament. Not making the cut, one Matt Fitzpatrick. Projected cut line, 1 over. He is 4 over for the tournament. His day is done. His weekend is done. It is not always like this. But it always does seem to happen when you have a very popular name that everybody can't keep talking about, and then no show. Outside of the comments about the mean fans at some of these golf tournaments.
Your boy Goddard, though, still 2 under for the tournament, so he had a decent day after an even par round 1, so he's top 25.
Yeah, I need Scheffler top 5. I've got Goddard top 10, and then I've got an outright on both of them. Scheffler, consistent, right? Another 2 under for today, so hoping that he can maintain that. Give me like one big weekend. I mean, obviously, this course is showing that it is scoreable. We've had 2 guys, Lucas Herbert, Sam Burns, both finish with 62s today. So one would assume that you can get this. And again, weather seems favorable going into the weekend. I haven't seen anything that would make me think otherwise. So we know how Scotty can put up some of those ridiculous weekend numbers. Hopefully, he's got one of them in him.
My boy, meanwhile, creeping back up. I told you I wasn't going to bet Tommy Fleetwood outright, but I bet the top 20 and I bet the top 10. He is sitting 4 under for the weekend right now. And yesterday was good, right?
Did you see this news?
What?
He withdrew.
Shut up. I don't need this from you. But yesterday,
quit golf altogether. Retired.
All we needed yesterday was for him to be under par, be in a good position. Obviously had a much better round today. So I'm feeling good about where we're sitting right now. But I felt good in the past where I bet the top 20, top 10. He ends up cashing one of the bets, but not the other. And so hopefully he can stay up there in contention. T8 right now, there are a lot of names that are sitting 4 under for the tournament.
Not real news, but I guess it's worth mentioning going out here. John Heyman with a report about 12 minutes ago on Aaron Judge. Some progress has occurred, but not fully healed. Waiting on more doctors. According to Heyman, the Judge hasn't healed well enough to resume baseball activities. Will need to be re-imaged. Aaron Boone said, and this is the troubling part about this one. Aaron Boone says he still feels good about Judge's chance to play this season.
Ooh.
So you never really like it when you're comparing it to like, hey, we feel like he's going to play at some point. So that's not really great for the Yankees, but just a little bit of an update on Aaron Judge. His team, of course, in action later today.
With or without Judge, how massive of a disappointment will it be for the Yankees if they don't make the World Series this year?
I mean, I think it's always a disappointment when you are, holy smokes, when you are the Yankees and you are not
What's the
beating
holy
up.
smokes?
I did not. I haven't checked the score for a while. The Boston Red Sox are up 10-0 over the Tampa Bay Rays. Red Sox well on their way to winning their 10th consecutive game. And I think, let me double check this really quickly, this victory would temporarily put them in control of a wild card spot. So how about that? We talk about them at 6-1 to make the playoffs, and they rip off a 10-game winning streak.
On the way out here, as we've been talking about for the last 2 hours, there are clearly no shortage of betting opportunities here this summer. Whether it's daily baseball, the World Cup, college football, the NFL, everything's going to be here before you know it as well. Perfect time to get VSiN's football special, just $175 right now. That'll get you VSiN Pro access to everything we do here at the network from now through the Super Bowl, which includes all of our guides. We talk about how I said with Florida State, I think I'm probably going to end up writing that up for the college football betting guide. That's coming out in just a couple of weeks. The NFL betting guide is out now as we speak, but you only get access to them if you're a VSiN Pro subscriber. So head over to vsin.com/subscribe today to come join us. In addition to the guides, you get the best bets page, you get the unlimited articles, and all of the prop projection tools and everything. It doesn't get much better than that. Again, vsin.com/subscribe. That's a wrap for us today. Thanks everybody so much for hanging out. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the World Cup final. I think I might end up at Stadium Swim, so come on out, come say hi. We're going to have a blast this weekend. Have a great day. Follow the money coming up after this.